Well, welcome everyone to another of our orientation and training sessions in preparation for the AERA 2021 virtual annual meeting. Only days away, as my colleague, Robert Smith, Director of Meetings, will give us the countdown numbers. I am sure when he also gives his welcomes. It is a pleasure to be able to hold this session in what is around the world a much more favorable time for our international community and colleagues, whether it is in the early evening, somewhat later in the evening, in some time zones, in the afternoon, in other time zones. But we have really provided this session in the live mode in a way that we hope provides you all with an opportunity to interact with us, to get the questions answered that you would be able to raise in a live mode. All sessions are recorded. They are on the AERA website. There are also, there will also be a series. There are now 2 fact sheets that are particularly directed to aspects of the annual meeting. One is about the virtual platform that we are holding the meeting, I'll say, at for the moment. And the other is about issues with respect to registration and also signing on to the platform. This particular session is oriented to training and I say an orientation to what is the AERA interactive presentation gallery and how to prepare an interactive presentation. It is an option we are providing. We started with this innovation when we thought we might be holding a virtual meeting last April. And given the dramatic kinds of events that we experienced with the onset of COVID worldwide, not because of our capacity to technologically deliver a virtual meeting, but much more because of the ways in which the world was traumatized, how people were switching from in their work lives from in work to home work, from place-based teaching and research to home and remote access. The additional holding of an annual meeting in April, we thought was not the icing on the cake, meaning something that would have been an opportunity to gather together, but just one more thing to do. We hope that as we look toward 21 and 22, that the expansion and access to vaccination and the possibilities of recovery and new forms of innovation as we work together offer us much, much more and bring some health, mental health, physical health, and well-being to not only our community worldwide, but to the population worldwide, whether northern or southern hemisphere, whatever the continent. We surely hope that in 2022, you mark your calendars for coming and joining with us in San Diego, California. But this event, in a series of orientations ramping up to it, and this particular session is all about our virtual space. Many of you undoubtedly have been using all kinds of WebEx, Zoom, or other modalities of being a part of sessions, delivering sessions, teaching in various ways, working with research groups in various ways. This platform is not about URLs that you have to save and restore. It's not about putting software on your desktop or laptop so that you can communicate in one modality or another around specific events. That works fine for specific events, but any form of conference and annual meeting needs to try to recreate much more of that in a way that creates the kind of culture and climate and community that is the raison d'etre for indeed having for so many, decades and generations, place-based kinds of convenings. So the platform is essentially a destination. If one imagines, I like to think if we imagine being on an island together, for those of us in the Northern Hemisphere, we hope that's still going to get to be increasingly a warmer island than the cooler months that preceded this one. But that we really are going to a destination. We're all in one location, whether you think of it as an island, a planet, a satellite, or a large convening center. I started with the other analogs because they bring a sense of community and warmth. Sometimes one thinks of moving into a large building as, oh, just a lot of rooms, and we're going from place to place, or up elevators or down escalators. The Aera virtual platform, which we will be discussing at much more length in, we already have in recordings available to you and in fact sheets. And in additional orientation sessions, there's a general orientation session on Friday afternoon, tomorrow afternoon in Washington, D.C. time. Obviously, that varies worldwide. And this afternoon, midday in East Coast time, East Coast savings time now, we have an orientation for anyone presenting on a session in any mode, whether you are presenting, whether you're a chair, whether you are a discussant for sessions that have discussions, whether you're engaging in a great debate. If you are in a presenting mode, we may touch upon that today, and as questions arise, we will try to answer them. But today we are focusing on the preparation of a presentation. And it's the preparation of a presentation that flows from the submissions and acceptances of papers. So this particular session is oriented to paper submissions, whether they are being presented at paper sessions, which many of you are presenting at paper sessions, whether you are presenting at a roundtable session, or whether you are presenting in a poster session or in a structured poster session. If you happen to be on a symposia and giving a paper within a symposia, we welcome you to do your presentation in this interactive presentation mode that we will be describing. And we also welcome you in so doing to be a part of the gallery. Last year, as I indicated, when we decided to not hold a virtual meeting, we started working actually just about 12, 13 months ago with a very inventive product called Amuse, or that's the company that creates that product. And that has existed for quite some time for many forms of scholarly and scientific meetings, and was something that has been used primarily in the place-based mode before, of course, all of us were moving into the virtual mode. But the impressive part of the interactive presentation is that it is web-based, gives presenters much more flexibility in how they present, as you will learn and see. It is much more dynamic and interactive for those who are viewing an interactive presentation, either live, which you may do during your live sessions. All sessions at the Aera virtual meeting will be live. They will all be recorded and available in an on-demand library, which I want to emphasize because that particularly works well with our colleagues around the world, and in the United States, certainly in Hawaii and in many of the West Coast locations, since we are starting the meeting later with poster sessions and roundtables at 9:30 a.m. Eastern Savings Time. That is a difficult time for many, and we're treating it as if it was a live East Coast time in the United States. But all sessions will be recorded, and thus all presentations in whatever the modality, and available in an on-demand library. But the presentations that will also be available in what we call the Aera Interactive Presentation Gallery. We actually open the gallery for those who might want to create presentations with 2020 papers, and that is available on our website. We encourage those who wanted to experiment with this modality, actually very simple and very user-friendly, to do so. 450 of our colleagues decided with their 2021 presentations or with their papers to create a presentation in the gallery, and the 2020 gallery is available in public space. And some of the features of that are features of the creation of an iPresentation is that it is available for networking, community building, in public space well after the meeting. That provides those of you who choose to use it not only an opportunity to others discover you, it provides you with a unique citation about your presentation that is time and dated for the time of your live presentation. You can continue to network with others because they can contact you, and you can set up your own text chats, or you can set up your own live chats in whatever modality you're comfortable using, whether it's a product like WebEx or Zoom or whatever is your delivery mode, and you can set those up. People can contact you and ask questions. There's information about authors, as you will see. And as importantly, an aspect that we want to emphasize and underscore, it is a product that the viewer, those coming to the gallery, even within the annual meeting, the virtual annual meeting, those who do not attend your live event can come to the gallery, can go through your presentation at their own pace, can go back and forth. If you choose to do an overall narration, which we encourage you do at the outset when you create it, or you can do it afterward, that adds a way of community building and accessibility of your work, irrespective of the one live event that you're attending. And when I say access, that is the access that mirrors what we are doing today. All of our events and meetings, we provide both closed captioning, and for those of you who want to read the words, you can toggle up to live transcript and see the closed captioning provided by Lauren. Thank you, Lauren. And thank you, Amy, who is currently doing the ASL, American Sign Language Interpretation. And she trades off with another of our partners, Kabrowski, who will be every 20 minutes, you will meet another part of our collaborative community. So a particular important aspect of every presentation that we provide at the virtual meeting and in other public meetings are these forms of communication. Live closed captioning will be provided for every form of session, including open conversations at business meetings and at receptions. We are using AI technology for poster presentations, paper presentations, and roundtables. But those with disability access needs can email access@aera.net and ask for any form of additional service that, like ASL interpreters for particular sessions, and we will add them. There'll be particular fact sheets about disability access, including we will be having some floaters on our island or on our satellite or on our planet, so that if one only knows hours in advance that they need ASL interpreters at a roundtable or a poster session or paper session that they want to attend, we will try, I'll say in the few moments, not within the last 2 minutes, would be less good than asking for it hours in advance, but we have additional supports that will be able to provide that. So while we will be focusing on the interactive presentation gallery today, and that is a mode of presentation. It's a mode of presentation that you can choose to bring up in your live session and is a destination. When you come to the general orientation about the virtual meeting, you will essentially see this destination or view this destination or read this destination to be a location with many places on the map. If you think about the AERA app or the print program and you go to the back, you see maps. Well, there is one map that describes all the destinations you can get to once you enter our satellite, our convening center. And one of the destinations on that map, I'll mention just a couple. One is going to sessions. And that's a very user-friendly way. You don't have to remember or save or do anything with URLs. If you're presenting, you will actually be brought to your session 10 minutes in advance. If you are attending, you just kind of click something from the schedule. And if you're arriving late, you'll get there late. If you're arriving early, you'll get there early. If you're arriving on time, of course. All to the good from wherever you are. If you're doing social networking, you can go to sessions. That's another destination. The on-demand library with recordings is another destination. One of our destinations on the map that is part of the environment for the virtual annual meeting is the AERA Interactive Presentation Gallery. So you can go and to that destination and see presentations or view presentations that have been created there. And it's an additional asset. It's an opportunity, not only within the platform, but because this is a product that will reside on the AERA website and does indeed reside for 2020 on the AERA website. It is a way of connecting at an early stage of your presentation of your work that will worldwide have others be able to learn about what you're doing, contact you, go through your presentation, potentially hear your narration. If you have done an overall narration, AERA is going to transcribe them so that viewers can either read the text or hear the overall narration. Of course, we encourage those being a brief way of getting an overall sense of your papers. I've tried in this introduction, I hope semi-successfully, to both allow those moments for others who were joining a little bit late to come on, and I see we have another 20 or 30 of you join with us. But really, more seriously than that, try to anticipate the kinds of things you're wondering about, even though we hope you've come in particular here to learn about the the preparation of an interactive presentation. I want to emphasize that it is an option for any of you presenting papers in the paper session mode, the roundtable mode, or the poster mode in a live session where you will be experiencing essentially, for those of you familiar with meetings, you will be in a small live room. Other presenters will be there. If you're in a roundtable, it will be with the persons in that roundtable around that topical area, each with their chairs in a paper session, sometimes a discussant. If you are doing a poster presentation, just envision instead of many posters in a large room, and I suppose something like 3 by 5 feet is where you are with your poster, your flat poster in a large ballroom. In the platform, you will be in your room, and you can share screen with whatever your product. You can share screen with old transparency slides if you wish. You can use, you could certainly use PowerPoint if you wish, or any of those modalities. But most important today is how you can take your interactive presentation that you've created, as simple, if not simpler, and much more dynamic than those other modalities, and share screen with that. So you can use it for your live presentation, and then it remains both an asset in the gallery for those wanting to see or hear about or read your interactive presentation during the meeting, and also, as I've emphasized, after the meeting. I will now turn it over to Robert briefly. Before I do, I just want to introduce Rick Podolsky, who I've said what a creative and innovative partnership we have with Amuse. And hi, Rick. And he is in Finland. And so you can see the light streaming through his window. And I am particularly, not to overplay the metaphor, we've been working closely together since last February. And that has brought a lot of light to how we can innovate, how we can innovate in not only creating this gallery and the sense of community and collaboration and interaction that is not just one period of time called the annual meeting, but is really throughout the year. Every year we will turn to another year, and just like the Aera paper repository, that becomes a permanent, accessible way of learning about work in the early versioning stage. If you have indicated that your paper will be in the Aera online paper repository, that too has a unique site and a DOI number, and we will link your paper in the repository to the presentation. When any of those products reach publication, you can go back into the repository and link the final presentation. So the gallery is part of the versioning production process. We go to scholarly meetings, we communicate about our work, we work in small groups together, and this is an authentic piece of your work early. It is not the final work, it is your work. You continue to own that work. And it is just as you feel the work is at a stage ready to write a paper for a conference, the presentation also is a further way of enhancing the accessibility of you as scholar and your work. I'll turn it over to Robert Smith, who will also make some welcoming remarks. And Robert, from your comments, we'll go, I think, right to Rick and start the presentation. Robert?
Thank you, Felice. Good afternoon, good evening. Thank you for joining us today for this demonstration of this interactive presentation platform. In less than 3 short weeks, we'll all be together at that virtual platform. And this will be a presentation tool that you can use. It's not where we're going to be, it's just a tool that you can use along the way, and we'd like to show you this morning how to do that. So with no further ado, I'd like to turn it over to Rick, and thank you, sir.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night, I guess, to everybody. It's really good to be here. Let me share my screen so we can get right to the tour of the system. I'm going to divide this up into two parts. The first part, I'm going to take you on a tour of how attendees will experience the presentations, how they will access and explore them. And then the majority of it will be how you create your interactive presentations in our system. So I'm going to turn off my video now so I can focus on the presentation itself. I'll be back at the end for any questions that you might have. So turning over to the screen over here, those of you who have received a letter of invitation hopefully have seen this login page. The letter of invitation includes some basic information about how to create an interactive presentation and also your login credentials here. I should start by saying that the whole system is online. You don't have to load anything down on your computer. All you need to do is click on the links. It's all online. They're all web pages. You enter your login credentials here, submit, and you'll be coming to a welcome page with some basic information on how to create the poster. So I'm going to stop here on this aspect and turn over to how your attendees and yourselves will be accessing the presentations during the conference itself. The basic component of the experience is the interactive presentation gallery. Here will be all of the presentations that are created for this conference. What we're looking at right now is the 2020 gallery. The 2021 gallery will be similar. You just scroll through the presentations and you can find information about each one of them in the metadata displayed below the thumbnails here. And you can also filter for subunits, units, and subunits, for keywords, for research methods. You just use the drop-down filter and well, sometimes, again, this was not fully attended, so all of these drop-downs won't be working for last year's conference. But anyway, you just scroll through them this way and you'll find what you want. There's also a full text search over here. And as Felice mentioned, we have a couple of synchronous communication functions. There are chats and what we call live sessions, not to be confused with the live session platform that you'll be using during the meeting. These are sessions that you can set up yourself, probably after your live session in the conference itself. But here you can set up chats and you can set up video sessions that you can use your own Zoom, WebEx, Microsoft Teams to create. I'll show you all how to do this in the second part of my presentation. When you see a poster that you're interested in exploring, you click on it and it will open. And here's an iPoster. And again, these are online, so you can access this from any internet connected device that has a browser. So all iPresentations are always online. They're also online when you create them. So you don't have to worry about any other software than what you see once you log in. There's no limit to the amount of content you can add to your presentation. When you click on a content box, it turns into a scrolling box. So other than good sense, you can load up as much content as you wish: images, videos, audio files, links to external websites, as much as you need to present your research in the detail that it deserves. You can see here that these are some, these are audio functions that we have in the presentations. You can load up any kind of audio file. It can be a narration, it can be an interview, could be an audio documentation of something. In this case, and the most frequent use of it, and the one that we highly recommend that you use, are to do narrations, to explain your research, not only in terms of images and texts, but also to use audio files. I'll play this just so you can hear an example.
The literature on the research and teaching nexus explores how staff and students experience the link and compares it across disciplines and institutions.
So this particular author has added detailed audio explanations in each of her content boxes here. This is very easily done. Most authors will record their audio presentations on their mobile phones and add it to the poster. It's really easily done. We've got some tutorials for you on how to do it. And again, it doesn't only have to be a narration, it could just as well be an interview, where perhaps a video interview would either be too expensive, too complex, or too invasive in terms of privacy. People are shy. Instead, you do an interview on your mobile phone and add it to the poster, to the presentation. Down here, a number of buttons you'll see. There are a few standard buttons, and then there are a few that you can add yourself. Here are the buttons for the live chats, the live sessions, which is a video session, and the chats. Again, not to be confused with the live sessions as part of the program itself. If either of these were live now, they would say join live session, join chat. They're not. So when you click on the chat button here, you get some information about the chat, and you can see the time that it was, in this case, was scheduled. There's a default message here. You can change it as you want, but if you missed the chat but would like to contact us, please use the contact author button at the bottom of our poster. And this is one of the asynchronous communication tools here. This button, contact author, you can, the attendees can send a message to you requesting additional information, maybe requesting that you set up a chat so that you can talk about things. As Felice mentioned, I'm over here in Europe, and as Europeans, we're subject to GDPR rules. So we don't show your email address anywhere in the poster unless you decide that you would like to show it yourself. So this will arrive in your mailbox, and it's up to you to respond to that. The live session button, which is the one that you can set up independently of the other live sessions, this will connect to a Zoom meeting or a GoToWebinar meeting, however you would like to do it. So when you click on this, you will see, well, in this case, the author did set up their session using Microsoft Teams. So it can be any of those online platforms. Moving on to some other things that you can do down here. Author information, you can set up, talk about yourself, your CV, your institution, your colleagues. You can also include external links in your presentation, and this goes for any content box. You can link to external websites, and what'll happen is that they'll open up in a separate tab here, and your users can explore this fully. Whatever you want to link to, live data sets, citations, external sites that you want people to be able to explore. Your abstract is going to be preloaded, so you don't have to worry about that. It will appear here. And here you can add another button for external, for your references. And even here, if you have online references, you can include links to them so that people can explore those in more detail. There is a print button down here. It's a print to PDF. You cannot print or make a traditional PDF of an iPresentation. As you may know, a PDF is simply a snapshot of the surface of this. And as such, you would be able to see what you see here, but a traditional PDF will not show you anything that's below the scroll line. And again, there's no limit to how much you can add here. So our print to PDF function extracts all of the content from all of the content boxes and then shows them in document form. So what you're going to be creating from your dynamic HTML web presentation is going to be converted to a static document, but all of your content's here. So you'll be able to see what your presentation looked like in its dynamic form. As you'll see, you can load up images of yourselves here, and then everything is laid out like this. And you'll use your browser or your system's print to PDF function to then do the final step of converting it to a real PDF. Right now, it's still online. If you've included videos, if you've included external links, of course, those won't be live anymore, but your visitors will be able to see the URLs and then copy and paste them into a browser in order to see the dynamic content. So that's the PDF function. And then finally here, get iPresentation. What this does is your visitors can add their email address here, and a link to your poster, to your presentation, will be sent to them. This is a bit of a vestige from the physical times. We call it BC, before Corona, when we had real live meetings, and you were not able to see the browser. But up here, this is actually the link to your presentation. We have the Get iPresentation button here because not all visitors will think about the fact that all they need to do is copy this. Also, you'll find that when they click on the iPresentation button down here, you'll get statistics and you'll be able to see the email addresses of those who have requested to share your presentation. So moving on, here is another iPresentation showing some of the other functionality, and one of the most important anyway is the General Narration button down here. So you saw in the previous iPresentation that the author had included narrations within each of the content boxes specific to the topic of that content box. Here is a general narration that you can add. And this is more for framing your research, for providing a broader context. And I'll just play a bit of this.
Hi, bienvenida. Tendo. My name is Dr. Lori Santamaria. Welcome to our presentation, Sustainable Mixteco Indigena Research.
So you can do it either or both. Beyond the advantages of being able to present your research with more context, with more adding context, framing is of course the aspect of accessibility, and particularly within the content boxes themselves. This is a tremendous tool to help people who have any kind of visual impairment to be able to explore and understand your research. I'll just open this content box here. You can include videos. I'll just play a bit of this. They'll go full screen.
So, la manera en que nosotros estamos investigando es una manera que yo no pensé.
So think about videos in terms of images. I'll just open this again. Load big images if you can. Images are not a necessity, but they certainly add another dimension to your research. The format of a presentation is 1920 pixels wide and 1080 pixels high. It's high definition format. So we encourage you to, if you're going to be using images, to load images up to that size so that they really expand and make it easy to explore that. And images, of course, can be photographs, they can be charts, graphs, diagrams, They all can be loaded up as images like you see here and added to the poster. You can load up slideshows in a few of the templates, and you can pause them and click through them. This is an opportunity if you want to do an presentation and include for example, a PowerPoint presentation that you're going to be using for your live presentation. You can export the slides in your PowerPoint to a JPEG or make a screenshot of it as a PNG, and then load those either into the image slider field here, or you can also add them to the individual content boxes just as images. So let's see if we have anything else here. If you're doing a paper presentation, if you want to have something for a panel discussion, we have a number of different templates from a single content box up to 7 or 8 content boxes. Here is just a really basic presentation that was done, and you open it up, and it looks like this and like this. And in this case, the author has added a narration to her paper presentation.
Science and human development. So there are really 3 major questions that I'm trying to answer in this research. What discourse strategies and print concepts do fathers use when engaged?
So there's another use of the iPresentation system. And here's another way. This is using the single content box presentation template.
Hi, my name is Jonathan Foster. I'm a graduate student here at the University of Georgia, and I'm here to present my paper, When a Mathematical Connection Diverges. Before we begin, I'd like to point out.
And here is just a more traditional paper presentation using the single content box. So it's up to you how you would like to do it. We've got tutorials and quick guides on how to transfer a PowerPoint presentation, for example, totally into the interactive multi-content box templates, and also how to do something like this. I hope this, I know this looks very sophisticated, and some of you may be wondering, wow, how difficult is this to do? I just wanted to show you a presentation that was just added yesterday after only 2 days of work. This is one of the iPresentations that will be presented at this year's conference.
Rick, let me just chime in so that our attendees realize, actually, we sent out the invitations to all first listed authors on US time, Tuesday late afternoon, and these were done overnight, so it's pretty simple. It does not take 2 days of work. It was actually probably done in a half hour, I suppose.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So, and the author has taken full advantage of many of the functions here. A really nice video here.
Really strive to create as an authentic learning environment as I can through distance learning, through the online environments. And the double robot has
so just great stuff. So don't be intimidated, just dive in and you'll see that things go really quickly. That being said, I'll switch over now to how do you create an iPresentation, and go back here. So when we last left this page, we had opened it up, and here's the welcome page. There's some, you'll see that in your letter of invitation, we have links to our technical support. We have them again here, tutorials, quick guide, the FAQ, some GDPR information about privacy, also some important information about your system and browser. It will work on just about any system, Windows 7, 8, 8.1, Mac, Linux. The browsers, Chrome, Edge, Firefox, Safari. We do not support Internet Explorer. Microsoft stopped developing that really about a year and a half ago, and it just will not display all of the functions that we have in our system. So if you're working on Windows, use Edge, works really well. Chrome works really well. Mozilla works really well. Just don't use Internet Explorer. So having thoroughly read through all of this, you'll go to your iPresentation. If you're presenting more than one presentation, you'll see them listed here, and you choose the one that you would like to start with. If you're only doing one presentation, then you'll go right to the template chooser. We have a number of different templates. Starting down here, this is a single content box with a slideshow function. So this one, if you just want to be really straightforward and convert a PowerPoint presentation to an iPresentation, you would use this one. I'll show you it in a little more detail. And you can just export your JPEG using the your slides using the convert to JPEG function that exists both on Keynote and on PowerPoint. 2 content boxes, 3 content boxes. Here are 2 different formats for 4 content boxes, 5 content boxes. Here's one with 6. And these last 2 here, one with 6 content boxes and one with 7, both have the slideshow function. So I'll start by choosing this one here. When you click on it, it will open up and you will come to your template. I'm going to drag some content over here so that I can show you how to create things. Just looking at the general layout here, your title is here. That's been preloaded. Over here on the right is what we call the main toolbar. There are a bunch of universal functions. And here's where you add those buttons I showed you at the bottom of the poster. Here's where you add them. Here are some support services. You can open and close this down here to reveal the whole poster, the whole presentation. Up here is deadline information and any other information that we might want to send to you. So check this, and you click on it and you'll find the message over here. If you have more than one presentation, here's where you can see them and you can toggle between them, so you can be creating them at the same time. And then here's a log out button over here to log out, and you can continue working later on. You can access this from any internet connected device. We recommend that when you're editing, do it on a computer with a good size screen. It's just easier to do. In terms of entering content then, here you would add your name and the name of your co-authors. We don't preload that. You add the name of your institution or institutions here. You click here to enter the title of your various content boxes, and you can call them whatever you wish. I'll just add one more here. You can at any time decide that you want to add you want to personalize the look of your poster, of your presentation. So this is the default, and you're welcome to use the default colors and layout. But up here, you'll see the design button. You click on that and you can do very simple things like add a color background, add a gradient background. You can add colors in the content boxes themselves. Let me see, that was a little lurid there. There we go. It's a calmer color. And you can add up here, you can move this around so you can see what you're doing with the middle boxes. You can also change the text font, the text colors. And you can also go back to default. You can add an image background here by using the insert image button. You can see here recommended image size 1920 by 1080. As I mentioned, that's the resolution of an iPoster, of an iPresentation. So if you want a background image to cover the entire background, it's got to be in that format. You click on that and you'll see that all of the image work is drag and drop. You can also browse your own computer, but over here, I've got all my images set up already. So I just click on the image I want, drag it over and drop it into the box, and we've got a background image. To enter content in the content boxes themselves, you click here and then click again here, and the editor will open. And I think you'll find that the editor is pretty familiar. The tools are the same that you would see in just about any kind of creation system, whether it be Word or PowerPoint or whatever. You can add your text on the fly here, like this, but I'm sure that most of you are going to be copying and pasting from all manner of documents, from PowerPoints and PDFs and Word files and other websites. So I've got some content here on the right, and you just copy the content and you paste it in, and you've got your content here. The system will remove all formatting from your sources when you put it in. So it's going to come in here slightly formatted, but in terms of the font, the default fonts and stuff like that, but everything else will be stripped. Two reasons for this. The most critical is that a lot of PDFs, a lot of websites have code that is, if not malicious, that's not very good. So we want to get rid of that, because if that code followed along when you copied and pasting in here, it could create problems for the system and for the functionality of your presentation. The other reason is that if you're going to be copying and pasting from multiple sources, if the formatting for each of those sources followed along when you pasted it in, you would have a difficult job in getting some kind of uniform look to your presentation. So all text formatting is stripped. You can start fresh, and you can start formatting your presentation in the content box using these tools. So you mark the text you want to format, you can bold it, italicize it, you can underline it if you'd like, you can change the color, you can change paragraph style, you can change font style, you can change size, although we have a lower limit on size. The lower limit is 10 points. Those of you who have created presentations using maybe PowerPoint or done a paper presentation, a paper poster, for example, have often had to resort to using the smallest possible font size in order to get all the information you want onto your presentation. Since these content boxes scroll, you don't have to worry about that. Again, there's no limit to what you can add. So we have a lower limit of 10 points, and this is for readability, really. We suggest using 10 to 12 points for captions. 14 points is the standard size. It'll work well on a mobile phone. It'll work well on a large format screen. You can go higher if you'd like, just mark and go to 14 or 16 points. And then you can also go even larger and use it for subheadings or for emphasis in your poster, in your presentation. To add multimedia, these are the three function tools. This is add an image, add a video link, and add a sound file. So to add images, you click here, the image field opens, and again, you just drag and drop things in. And what's happening now is that you're loading this up onto our server, and it is sending it back to the template here. So now we have an image there. In terms of accessibility, it's a good thing. We urge you to do so. You double click here, click on image information, and here you can add alternative text. that describes the image and make it as detailed and as concise as you possibly can. This makes the image readable by text readers. So for those of you who have any kind of visual impairment, you can hear the description. And then just click on OK, and now we've got the alternative text there. While I have that open, actually, back to image info, you'll see a bunch of text down here. This isn't the text that you entered in your content box itself, but it's a text that will show how the text is going to flow around the image. So if you would like to have text flow around the image, what you do is that you click on the alignment button here, and let's say I want text to flow around the right side. So you click here, you move the image over to the left. So now you can see that the text is going to flow around that. The text is rather tight here. So here you can add some padding, some space around the image itself, and then click OK. And then you just grab the image here and you can move it so that the text is flowing around. You can play with that a little bit. I'll show you also how you can use our preview function to make sure that it's looking the way you want it to do. So some more ideas in terms of images. Opening here, the three image formats that are allowed in an iPresentation are PNG, JPEG, and GIF. You can't load a PDF into a content box. You can link to it, and I'll talk about that later on another site, but if you want it within your poster, it's got to be those three image formats. And again, you just click on the upload. We showed you the image here. You click on the upload button here, and then you can grab a GIF. I'll just grab one here. What's a good one? I'll drop that in here. Think about GIFs, not too much action, not too much fluttering, anything. Again, that can be an issue for some visual impairments or cognitive impairments. So keep your GIFs calm, but you can load up a GIF like this and just click OK. And now the GIF is there for examination and exploration. Talking about other graphs, charts, diagrams, we recommend that you export those from wherever you created them into an image format, again, JPEG or PNG, and load them up as images, because then they will expand like the other images that I showed you. So here's a bar chart. Just drag and drop that in, and you've got that. So it goes pretty quickly, the actual creation process. Looking at the other formatting tools up here, you've got the bold, italic, you've got underline. You can create subscripts and superscripts. You can do numbered lists and bulleted lists. And then you can also adjust the justification, either left or right or middle. We do not have left-right justification. That's another accessibility issue. You may have noticed yourselves when you have left-right, even in a paper document, there can be rivers of white as the rows expand to be able to fit both sides. You'll get rivers of empty spaces running through. This can be even more acute when you're looking at it online. And this can be very difficult, again, for certain visual and cognitive impairments to be able to read what you've written. So best practice is do not do that, so we don't have that ability here on the editing tools. Let me close this one here and just open here, talking about videos. This is the button you use here. The two video platforms that you can link to here are YouTube and Vimeo. Both of them have streaming servers everywhere in the world other than China. And they're super fast to load. They will give you keyframes. They also have built-in caption possibilities. So we really recommend that you use one of those two. Should you want to, in some way, restrict access to your videos on those platforms, we have a little tutorial about how to do that so that they can't be discovered on the other platform, but they can still be shown within your iPoster. And what you do simply is that you just copy the URL, which I'm doing over here from the video, add it over here, click OK. And as you can see, it's very, very fast to load. So that's the way you load up a video. And then as you saw, there are possibilities of including an audio file within the presentation itself. And you just use the add audio button here. And I've created a narration on my mobile phone. So that's the most common way to do it. Create it on your mobile phone, mail it over to your computer, and then you just drag and drop the file in here, and you've got a narration there, or an interview, or an audio documentation. Can be anything you want there. One other thing that I neglected, let me go back here to the text side. If I want to include a link to an external website, to a live data set, or just I'm citing something and I want to link my visitors to that, you mark either the text or the image you want to use as an anchor. You click on the link button here, and then I'll go back over here. I've got some links, and you just copy and paste the URL in here. Okay, now we've got a link there. I'll make it bold and I'll add a color so that it's easy to see. So that's the way you add external links. Let's go down here, and this is one of the templates that allows you to either use this particular content box either as a text field, which is like these over here, or as an image slider. And you can choose one or the other. If you choose one, like a text field, it'll look like this, but you can still have an option to decide, yeah, I'd really rather run a little slideshow here. So in the templates that have this function, you go to template settings, click here, reset the box. Now you can choose image slider. The functionality is the same. You click on this button, you get the image insert box here. You just drag and drop it in. So I'll add a couple of images here. And again, this could be an export from a PowerPoint slideshow. And I'll just add one more. So now we've got 3 images in here, and you can move them around if you want to change the order. You can also open it up for examining it. So I've added a lot of content here, and but I'm not really seeing this the way it's going to be seen by visitors in the gallery. So we have over here a preview button, which I recommend that you use often as a way of checking your work and as a way of going through the text, making sure there are no typos, and then making sure that the functionality works as you wanted to. So here you can open this up. The image is there. It'll still expand. If you're going to be doing this with the images where you want to reduce their size to have text flowing around, you don't have to reduce the size of the image at all. Load images that are large, that are somewhere around 1080, 1920 by 1080, so that they will expand. They'll automatically reduce in size in the content box itself. So you don't have to worry about that. The system will do that for you. You can see that your GIF is GIFing. Here is the chart I loaded up. Again, make it large so that it'll expand and your visitors can really explore. Here's the link I set up. It should open in a separate tab, and I can explore this. And looking over here, here's the video. Make sure that it plays. Make sure that it expands.
Hi, I'm Pauline Voss, Professor Emeritus at the University of Minnesota. I'm going to talk about. And
then here's the sound file that I just added. Here's the slideshow. What happens is that when we're looking at it here, the image that you loaded has been cropped to display here. The idea really is that this is just a sign to your visitors that, hey, there's a slideshow going on in here. They'll loop automatically. To see the images themselves, you click here, and here you'll see them full size. And again, if you're going to be presenting this way, then you can pause it, describe the image, click to the next one, and likewise, your visitors will be able to do the same thing. So this is the preview. If you're going to be doing a live presentation, rehearse it here because you're going to have exactly the same functionality. And one of the options during your live presentation, when you're going to bring up your presentation to share your screen, you can do that either from the gallery, click on it there, or you can do it from here. Log into your template, go over to preview and show it here, but expand it to full screen when you do that. So you don't want to have it in this mode. You want to have it in full screen when you actually do your presentation. Back to the template. Just close this for a second. Here you can upload the logo of your institution. You click on this and the by now familiar insert image box will open, and you just drag your logo in here and it'll appear up here. You can add an additional logo if you want. If there are several, you have co-authors from different institutions, you click on that and drag another one in here. So now we have two logos. If you want to remove a logo, you click on the logo itself and you remove it. So click on the upload icon to load it in, click on the logo itself to remove it. And then over here, we have it's a little vanity piece. Here you can click on this and you can add images of yourself and your co-authors here. So, and it's the same functionality. You click on the icon to load and you click on the image itself to remove it. Let's go over here and take a look at what else is over here on the main toolbar. This is where you add the general narration, that narration button, which will appear at the bottom of your presentation. I'll just use the same file here. It's the same functionality. You drag and drop it there. There's also an FAQ here, just kind of best practices on loading up images. Author info, here's where you can add author info. That's the information about yourself, about your, if it's only you, it could be your CV, it could be your colleagues. You just, let me close this and find here. You copy and paste your text in here. You can add images, you can add videos, sound files, and the like over here also. The abstract is going to be preloaded, so you're just going to see that. You can't edit it, so don't worry about that, but it'll be there for you to see. Disclosures, if you want to or are required to thank or name your funders, then you would add that information here. If you don't add content to any of these buttons, they're not going to show up on your poster, on your presentation. So it's only when you add content that it will be seen down there. And here's the references. Same thing here. add them here. Again, if you have online references, you can add links to them using the link device. The text chat and the live session, this is where you would do your own ones. Again, not to be confused with what's going to be happening during the meeting itself, but these are additional ones that you might want to add once your presentation is over. Click on this, you add the time and the date. There's a information instructions over here on how to do it. And likewise for the live session, the same idea, but here's where you would add your link to Microsoft Teams or Zoom or whatever. Likewise, instructions over here. On both of them, you need to start your session by logging in. So on this chat, the chat's not going to start on its own. You've got to log into your template, open up the control panel here and start the chat here, at which time all the chat frames will appear. Unfortunately, we have run into some problems with these two, and we're going to be removing them right now from the from your template temporarily. As it turns out, there's a bug in our system which has caused, because of the asynchronous nature of changing from standard to summertime between the US and the rest of the world, the dates and times have not been displaying properly. So we're going to remove this probably until next week while we fix the bug. Check up here if you want to include these in your presentation. We'll also send you a mail notifying you when it's back up again. This is a real case of Murphy's Law. Nature favors the hidden flaw. So don't worry that you don't see this right away now. And then just some of the other things that we have here. Here's an image gallery button. If you want to see, these are all the images that I've loaded up. And some authors prefer, rather than to do things the way I did, where I was loading up images kind of as I went along, they'll choose to upload, click on the upload button, load up all the images before starting to work on their iPresentation. And then what you can do is that you can, if you want to add an image here, you just click here and you click on the insert image button up here, but choose gallery, and then you can add images from the gallery itself. So I'll just add an image here, and now you've got the image that way. Two different ways of working. Also useful, should you decide at one point that I don't want this image here, you can just delete it by hitting your delete button. But then if you suddenly decide, or later on decide that, I would really like to have that image here, when you delete it from your content box, it's still in the system. So you just go back here, you go to the image gallery, you find the image that you removed, click on that, say okay, and the image is back in there again. So the image gallery is both good for a different way of working with images, but also it's a safety thing. Your images are still there, don't worry. Support, you have support links on the letter of invitation. You saw them also on when you logged into the template. Here they are again here. I just want to point out on the FAQs, most of the questions you have, you'll find answers to here. But here they are anyway, the FAQs. If you don't find an answer in the FAQs or on the quick guide, contact our support team here. We're on from 8 in the morning Central European time until 8 in the evening Central European time, actually 8 in the morning on Eastern time. So there's a long period when we've got live support going on. If you should put in a support notice after that, we'll get to you first thing in the morning. So encourage you to do that. Contact us directly. Your name, you don't need your phone number. Subject is always nice, but your message here, but please do add the fact that this is AERA, so we know right away what we need to go to. And going back here, just in terms of those of you who are doing papers rather than posters or doing any kind of contributions to panel discussions or anything, in terms of transferring, let's say, a PowerPoint to use within an iPoster, you can, as I pointed out before, you can just make PDFs of each of your PowerPoint pages or sections of them, and either add them as images to a template that has multiple content boxes, so that you can just scroll through your images, or refer to this particular FAQ. Can I upload a Power or PDF poster directly to my presentation? And not directly, but you can create images of them, but you can also move your content into various content boxes so that you have the advantages of a multiple content box template that you can divide it up into subjects. And then just a reminder here that try to take advantage of the other aspects of the iPresentation by adding videos, sound files, and the like. So anyway, refer to your support whenever you need it. The template settings I went through. The print presentation, I showed you that, how it's accessed from the gallery. Here you can do your own work here and access it here. So there's not very much here to look at this point, but you can add it there. You can share your presentation. This is the link. It's the same link that you see here. So if you want to share it with co-authors, with mentors, with cousins, that's the way to do it. And then down here, my settings, this gives you the ability to manage, add co-authors. If you want to give them editing rights, use this. First name, last name, email, a message. You send the invite, they'll get an invite with a username and a password. And you'll see a list of them over here once you add that. A caveat here, we don't have real-time collaboration yet. So you can't be multiple authors in editing at the same time. As Google has, we're not quite as big as Google yet, so it's taking a little time for us to develop that function. So right now, the main author has the responsibility of managing access. Talk with each other so that you don't have more than one person in editing at the same time. There's a risk that if you do, one author's computer might override the other and you might lose content. So, so keep that to one at a time. Here you can, if you are, this particular one affects the contact author button. If for any reason you don't want your mails, your contact mails to go to the email address with which you've registered, maybe you want it to your private Gmail address here, you just put in the address that you want the contact author button to go to. It will not affect your registration or anywhere else. You just add it here. Choose publishing rules. You can, if for any reason you want to take your presentation off of the gallery just for a brief period of time, you can click here and it'll remove it. Remember to put it back again. Share presentation. If for any reason you don't want that Get iPresentation button to be displayed at the bottom of your presentation, you would say no here. And then finally, statistics. Here you can see the number of views you had. You can see the email addresses of those who did click on that Get iPresentation button. And here you can see all of your contact requests. They will go to your email address, but occasionally we've had instances of authors accidentally deleting some mails. So here you can see them all here. So I think I've covered pretty much everything. Preview, save, always good to save. Post, you want to post your presentation by the deadline. However, once posted, you can continue to edit it. So I'll post it right now. You'll get a congratulatory message here. But here you can keep on working with your presentation. Any changes you make will be updated directly. You don't need to post your presentation again. Posting is as much for our help as to yours. We want to make sure that the databases are balanced, that there is no junk code. So please publish your poster by the deadline. You can continue to work on it. If you feel that there's some things in there that you don't want to have shown in the gallery, because the gallery will probably be available earlier, use that display function that I just showed you to temporarily remove it from the gallery, but make sure that it's back again in time for the conference. So that's a lot of information at once. I think I'll stop here and just turn things back over to you to answer any questions that you might have.
Rick, stay on the video with us, and let's try to answer any other questions that we might see in Q&A. The challenge of Q&A is while we have been providing answers in the Q&A, that doesn't mean everyone has been able to or would have been simultaneously reading them. So, Tony, are there some particular salient questions that we've maybe answered in the Q&A that we should be talking about more generally?
So, Rick, a couple people have asked if you could again show how to display an iPresentation during the recession.
Sure. I was going to say the easiest. I don't know. It's a relative.
I think there are two ways, and they're probably equally as easy.
Yeah. So one is that you have the gallery open and you just click on the presentation and it's there. And then go to whatever browser you're using, go to the full screen function to be able to show the poster that way. And then the other one is that you go back here and you go to preview and you get the same effect in preview. It's just, we got to wait for it to load now because it's in preview mode. But once it's been saved, now you've got the poster in preview. So both of those will work fine. It's a matter of taste.
But what functionally you would be doing, as you would be, let's say, doing at a live session at a place-based meeting. If it's a paper session, what often happens is that you go to the computer or your own laptop if you're projecting from your own computer, and with, let's say, something like a PowerPoint, you would put it on the toolbar from your hard drive on essentially the desktop, and you do that beforehand so that when it's your time to present, you're just pulling it up from your desktop with a PowerPoint. It is equivalent in iPresentation. If you go into the gallery, you go in before, and instead of putting it on the toolbar at the bottom of your desktop, you're essentially opening a tab in your web browser, just as you, for other things, might have multiple tabs. Then when it's your time to present at a paper session, then you just open that browser. And then when you're presenting, let's say, a particular table or slide or whatever you're referring to, just as you might with a PowerPoint, The other images are very dark and in the background, so you're not seeing, if you decided to use a format. Rick, if you could show what that looks like. If you decided to use a format
So
of let's say 4 slides in your presentation, when you're showing slide 1, the others in iPresentation are in the background and actually are quite dark, and they're not a distraction because the main act is the one that you're showing. So it really is quite the equivalent. The pluses are the additional pluses of iPresentation, but the functionality remains the same. You either put it on the desktop from your own drive, or you go in and you are ready to do so because it's a tab in the browser, or as Rick has also shown, you go into the what I call the studio and bring up the preview, and the preview is ready to be shown. Now, of course, if you're in a poster session, you know, we'll talk about that in presentation modes. You don't start, you don't start presenting until someone comes in. There may be 2 or 3 people. You might show them the whole, slide presentation as you would a poster. And then people might ask about particular features. Or if 3 or 4 people are in your room, in a poster room, you might say, well, I could give you a brief overview, and then we can drill down to anything you might like to ask about. So the poster functionality is even a lot more, because of course it's not just a poster on a board, as it were, but it is an interactive presentation, and you can give a brief overview, or if someone comes in, you will know when people enter the room. It will be like people entering a meeting. You will know, who's there. Paper sessions will proceed, so that's why I said you could tee it up in a browser. And at a round table, you are not, it's the dynamic of a round table. You're not making a formal presentation of a paper, but unlike having a handout, or sometimes people have an iPad or a different kind of device where they might show a particular thing, you can have that available when you're in your roundtable discussion and say, well, I'd like to show you this one particular interview I did. And then you don't do the whole presentation, because it's not a formal, roundtables are not formal opportunities to present papers if we're true to the intent of a roundtable. But of course, that's a moderated discussion, and you can show what you want to illustrate the point. Hopefully that kind of helps with that. As we said, it's a great option that's available. It's got all of these additional dynamics to them of being in the gallery, being discoverable. You're meeting up with 1, 2, 3 or other persons, not just during the meeting after your live presentation, but anywhere, anytime when this product resides in the platform, but it's being brought into the platform. It will not be available external to the platform that's hosting the virtual meeting until after the annual meeting. Rick, do you have that dark background that you can?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that the since the iPresentations are web pages, what you're looking at, that they're up here on the in your tabs. So if you're going to be doing any kind of presentation during a session, then you're going to be sharing your screen. And right. You just have this up and ready, and then you click on a content box. It expands, it isolates the content box from what's on, and then you can just run through your presentation like this, and bring up the points that you want. It's non-linear, so during the question period, it's really easy to go back to here, or to jump over here. Or there's just a a lot of flexibility here in what you want to do, but you're sharing your screen. When
What you're doing under, if you're showing anything, whatever you choose to show, you're essentially screen sharing. If there's some other product that you're using, or you just want to show one picture or one video clip, just make sure if you're showing any form of data, just like anything else that that you have, that it's been approved for public showing. So many of you may be aware that Aera and the Spencer Foundation joint team did a focus group study. Those focus groups were recorded and are in a secure website and will be available for restricted access analysis. But I would not show a clip from a focus group with images because that would be inconsistent with the human subjects protocol. But you can show anything under shared screen that you might like, including the interactive presentation. I'm not sure if Rick also emphasized that because it's a web-based product, it has an underlying metadata that makes it searchable and findable within the gallery. You can put in a PowerPoint, or a non-web-based product doesn't have that searchability around terms. In the gallery, the search tabs will actually approximate all of the tabs that you either see in All Academic when you're in the program now. The platform itself will have a program, so you can search by. The reason why Rick found an empty set is we had from 2020 450 papers, so not every keyword has a paper linked to it. But of course, with several thousand of these, so you can search by unit, you can search by keyword, you can search by author in the open field in what will be the 2021 gallery, with many more, of course, many more interactive presentations than our 450 colleagues who really were experimenting with the modality in October, November, and December, well after the annual meeting was canceled. They have the additional citation to their presentation, and others can contact them. It could be one or more than one, and then they can set up, as Rick has shown you, either text chats or through whatever their own platform. The interactive presentation gallery allows for video meetups. Other questions? Tony?
Yeah, we had a question about exactly who will be able to view the presentations once they've been presented.
Anyone can go to the gallery on the platform of the meeting who's registered for the meeting. Just like, in a way, if we had this gallery, and we will in 2022, if we had this gallery in a large ballroom, only registrants for the meeting attend the meeting. After the meeting, we offer this as a product that will be in public space. And someone on a different issue, and I just want to say this more generally, someone said, Aera is recording this. We're recording this, and you'll see this in a fact sheet, so that whatever your time zone or whatever session you're in, you can go to a concurrent session by going to the on-demand recording later. And also, we realize that this is a very stressful time for everyone who still has multiple obligations, trying to figure out how to transition into the ways that work will unfold. We have, I will say, negotiated with our platform so that this restricted platform for registrants will be available for essentially what will be 11 months after April, before the next annual meeting. That means for those who have so many obligations in work or in family life or health issues or challenges, you don't have to cram it in the 5 days. You can in July see something you haven't or something a colleague mentions. If you are a registrant, you get into what is the same restricted space. All as ARA is a checkoff. ARA records and has photographers at place-based meetings, and anything that happens in those meetings is accessible for showing, in that case, in the on-demand library. If you are presenting in a session, as I did, I stopped my video when Rick is presenting. If for some reason, while we see visual as well as word modalities as maximally accessible as they would be in a place-based meeting, if for some reason your circumstances require or you have a very strong preference not to be recorded, you have your video and you would turn it off just like I did when Rick was talking. And so that would be the way you would address the issue of whether you would have to have your image recorded. It is recorded. All sessions are recorded. I suppose you have more control than you would in a place-based meeting because if we were recording that session, everyone at the session would be recorded. If you are speaking and do not wish to be recorded at all, we urge you to give that a lot of thought, but many have circumstances, whether they are health related or other kinds of circumstances that make it impossible to engage in that multiple modality. In that case, you can shut your video off. I think that's the answer, but not that we're not going back and editing the recorded content. That is to make the meeting maximally accessible for registrants. Tony?
So the last question that seems to have been asked by multiple people that may not have been addressed, Rick, is whether once someone starts working in a template, whether they are able to add or remove boxes from it.
No, the templates are static. So if you've started with one template and then decide that you would like to use one with fewer or more content boxes, then there is a, let me just go to support to the FAQs here. And how do I change templates over here? It's pretty straightforward. Just in a nutshell, you've got to delete the template. So you go over here to the delete button, and when you click on that, you will see a warning. Are you sure you want to delete your presentation? If you do not want to, click cancel. If you do want to switch templates, your images will be saved in the image gallery. So as I mentioned, those are always there. But all of your texts are going to be lost. So what you need to do is copy your text into another document and then delete the poster, and then choose the template that or your presentation, and then choose the template that you want to use. Then you copy and paste your text back in, and you go to the image gallery to you go back here, choose a new. You would choose a new template here, and then copy and paste your text in, and then go to the image gallery and re-enter your images.
All right. Well, we still have quite a number with us. I only wish I suppose, I'm not sure we could see the raised hand, but we hope through this live session to have given you an opportunity to post and get answers for all the questions you might have. There is a dedicated box for email box for the presentation that was posted in the Q&A. You don't have to go to the general annual meeting box. You can send an email to presentation-gallery, no spaces, presentation-gallery at aera.net. For example, if you did not get an invitation and are the first listed author, that should not happen. But I think we had about 30 bounce out of some 6,000. You can send an email to that box. If you are giving a paper in a symposia and wish to be invited, if you have any question about anything that you've that's been in this presentation, these recordings, Rick did one yesterday. If you don't find the answers and have questions, you can go into the creation space essentially, and there's lots of opportunities to ask questions, or you can just post them in this email. I am not sure, but I unfortunately have the recollection that I may not have self-identified or introduced myself, and I certainly would not want to either be or appear presumptive. I am Felice Levine. I am what I like to think of as your executive director to enable you and the advancement of our field, whether you're a member or non-member. I can be reached at flevine@aera.net. It really is a pleasure to be able to work with such a talented staff, with our ASL interpreters and our live closed captioning, and in particular, to be able to talk about the real strengths of the interactive presentation gallery, and to have had the advantage and opportunity of both working with Rick Podolsky over this year, the AMU's inventor. And if I had one takeaway, I suppose very innovative and inventive people are as much looking ahead to the next ways of serving and inventing. So he too loves questions, posing challenges, and thinking ahead to the next editions of what we can do together with AMUs, as well as how he can more broadly serve the scholarly and science communities of which we are part. So thank you all for coming. I want to thank you for caring about our field, for taking the time to participate in this session, and most importantly, for coming to our virtual meeting that, beyond the formal presentations, will offer you many opportunities to be a part of a community and a climate and culture that we hope will be rewarding from April 8th to April 12th, 2021 this year. Thanks again.